The true story in the journal portraits, a war between Destined One, Heavenly Court, and the Buddhist Realm. The story of Black Myth begins with a tale. In this old monkey story, the son Wukong, great sage, completed the journey to the west and finally became a Buddha. However, Monkey, being naturally free-spirited, couldn't tolerate the complex rules of the celestial court. He resigned his position and returned to Mount Huagu to live freely and happily. But the celestial court couldn't accept Monkey being outside the system. 10,000 celestial soldiers once again descended upon Mount Huagu, and the great sage ultimately died at the hands of Erlang Shen. This was the story told by the old monkey, and it's the first version of the death of the great sage that we learn. Whether the story is true or not, the son Wukong is certainly dead. After his death, the great sage's 6 senses separated into 6 relic perks. Collecting these 6 perks would resurrect the great sage. Thus, a new monkey, also known as us, the Destined One, set out on a journey to collect the 6 relic perks and retrace the journey to the West Path. Chapter by chapter analysis. 1. Black Wind Mountain. The first stop on the Destined One's journey is Black Wind Mountain. Years ago on the journey to the west, Elder Jingqi coveted Tang Seng's precious Kasaya and attempted to steal it by arson, but ended up burning his own Guanyin temple. The Kasaya was then stolen by Black Bear Guai. Black Bear messed with something he shouldn't have, which ultimately led to the death of his good friends Ling Shuzi and White-Clad Noble. Black Bear himself was taken by Guanyin to the Southern Sea, reciting sutras to become a member of the system. When the Destined One arrived at Black Wind Mountain, Black Bear had already returned from studying abroad in the Southern Sea, having learned some rudimentary Buddhist teachings. After returning, this bear spirit rebuilt the Guanyin temple, even recreating all the burned books. The new temple was decorated quite magnificently, but these were all superficial efforts, not Black Bear's main concern. Black Bear's most important thought was to resurrect his old friends. He first resurrected Ling Shuzi, but when Ling Shuzi revived and realized his resurrection came at the cost of countless lives, he immediately hanged himself. This is the wolf spirit hanging from the tree. After failing to resurrect Ling Shuzi, Black Bear resurrected Elder Jingqi. Who knew that Jingqi's soul would be incomplete, resurrecting only as a deranged ghost, wandering aimlessly above Black Wind Mountain all day? This is the Wandering White, the new player tutorial instructor at the beginning. After 2 consecutive failures, Black Bear gave up on the idea of resurrecting his old friends and instead promoted a batch of new individuals to inherit titles like Ling Shuzi and White-Clad Noble. This is the first time the concept of title inheritance appears in the game, meaning that certain names or official positions with special significance are eternal, but the individuals holding these titles can change. Coming back to the story, Black Bear promoted a group of individuals, rebuilt the temple to its former appearance, claimed he had the ability to resurrect the dead, and attracted a group of minor Yaoguai who worshipped him. Black Bear ruled the mountain as a king, receiving offerings and living quite happily, until the Destined One came and shattered Black Bear's happy days. The reason behind this was that Black Bear had one of the great sage's relic perks, and the origin of this artifact was even stranger. Black Bear said it was a reward he received for participating in the murder of the great sage. The story reveals its first inconsistency here. In the old monkey story, the great sage died from the celestial army siege, with no mention of any Yaoguai being involved. What exactly happened? Let's read on. 2. Yellow Wind Ridge. The second stop on the Destined One's journey is Yellow Wind Ridge. Years ago on the journey to the west, Monkey fought 300 rounds with Yellow Wind Sage, but ultimately couldn't overcome the 3 wise winds. In the end, he had to fetch Lingji Bodhisattva, who used the Wind Tamer Pearl to defeat the wind and pass this trial. Yellow Wind Sage, like Black Bear Guai, was also taken to a Buddhist temple by Lingji Bodhisattva, reciting sutras to become a member of the system. In Black Myth, this event has some additional causes and effects. The Drunk Boar's quest line mentions a golden kingdom. The kingdom of Sahali initially revered Buddha, but later the king abolished Buddhism. Shortly after the abolition, a giant insect with Buddha heads growing on its back appeared in the kingdom, causing great distress to the Golden Kingdom. At this time, Yellow Wind Sage passed by and, unable to bear the suffering of the people, used his divine wind to capture the harmful insect. The Golden Kingdom returned to peace and prosperity. Later, when the journey to the west passed through here, Yellow Wind Sage was defeated by Monkey and taken away by Lingji Bodhisattva. With no one to manage the harmful insect, the Golden Kingdom was thus destroyed. At this point in the story, we can get a glimpse of the formal logic of the Buddhist realm. When the Golden Kingdom was destroyed, the Buddha-headed insect appeared to cause trouble. When Yellow Wind Sage suppressed the Buddha-headed insect, he was taken away by Lingji. This whole affair already outlines an image of an overbearing, arrogant, and arbitrary Buddhist realm. Later on, Yellow Wind Sage also participated in the murder of the Great Sage and was granted a relic perk. But unlike Black Bear, Yellow Wind thought day and night about settling old and new scores with Lingji Bodhisattva. When the Destined One finally meets Yellow Wind Sage, he discovers that Yellow Wind has indeed achieved his wish. He cut off Lingji's head and made it into a container for the Great Sage's relic perk. This, of course, is unlikely to have been accomplished by Yellow Wind alone. In the journal portraits, Yellow Wind says, "Although the old folks in Celestial said everything has been arranged, it's still better to have a backup plan." The old folks in Celestial, this sentence subtly points to the Celestial Court. The Celestial Court helping Yao Guai to murder a bodhisattva. The conflict between Buddhism and Taoism begins to show its first signs here. 3. New West. The third stop on the Destined One's journey is New West. Years ago on the journey to the West, facing Yellow Brows, who had set up a fake Western heaven and self-proclaimed himself as Buddha, Monkey was first trapped in a golden symbol. He summoned the 28 constellations for help, and Kangjin's star used his horn to rescue Monkey. Later, Monkey led the constellations to seek revenge, but was caught by Yellow Brows using a bag of human seed. After that, Monkey successively summoned the 8 true dragons and the turtle snake generals, as well as Prince Little Zhang and the 4 demon captains, all of whom were caught by Yellow Brows using the cloth bag. In the end, it was Buddha Maitreya who couldn't stand by any longer and personally intervened to help Monkey pass this trial in New West. Yellow Brows was also taken back by Maitreya to be his attendant again. In Black Myth, New West is a very special existence. Yellow Brows not only reopened New West, but also held a grand Dharma assembly inviting various immortals and deities to come and listen to the sutras. When this assembly was held, sure enough, old acquaintances came one after another, and they all fell for Yellow Brows' tricks. The 4 demon captains under Prince Little Zhang were all defeated and injured, and the prince himself had to mutilate himself to barely survive. The turtle general was frozen into an island, and the snake general was cut into a skeleton. As for the 28 constellations, only the Rooster of the Sun and Kangjin's star came. The whereabouts of the Rooster of the Sun are unknown, and we will know about his movements in Chapter 4. Kangjin's star was bewitched by Yellow Brows and completely converted to the evil cult of ultimate bliss. However, Buddha Maitreya, the real boss behind New West, was pleased to see this. Maitreya guided the Destined One multiple times in New West. When the monk mentioned wanting to test the Destined One, Maitreya replied, "I've already tested him for you. He's very good." The implication behind this seems to be that Yellow Brows was just a trial set up by Maitreya for the Destined One. 4. Webbed Hollow. The fourth stop on the Destined One's journey is Webbed Hollow. Years ago on the journey to the West, Monkey took advantage of the spider spirits bathing in the filth-cleansing spring to steal their clothes. Zhubaji then went to the spring to tease the spider spirits. The spider spirits sought help from their senior brother, the Hundred-Eyed Taoist, but in the end they died because the Hundred-Eyed Taoist refused to help. The Hundred-Eyed Taoist himself showed off his power with his golden light eyes for a while. Monkey was instructed by the old lady of Mount Li to invite Palan Bodhisattva, who then used Weaver's Needle to subdue the Hundred-Eyed Taoist. In the end, the Hundred-Eyed Taoist was taken back by Palan Bodhisattva, reciting sutras to become a member of the system. In Black Myth compared to other places, the story in Webbed Hollow is a bit more complex. There are 2 storylines here. One is the story of Zhuba Jie and Violet Spider. This traces back to when Tianpeng Marshall was in Celestial. Tianpeng once flirted with Chang'e, Lady Moon, but accidentally encountered a palace maid. Although Tianpeng had no intention, the maid fell in love. Later, when Tianping was banished to the mortal world and became Zhubaji, that palace maid also became the spider spirit, Violet Spider, in Webbed Hollow. During the journey to the west, the two had a spark, and when Zhubaji was killing the group of spirits, he spared his lover's life. By the time the Destined One arrives, Violet Spider has already grown old and lost her beauty, but she still thinks of brother Zhubaji and hopes to reunite and marry him. This is why there's a small section in the cutscene where Violet Spider and Baji are having a wedding ceremony. The second storyline is about the Hundred-Eyed Taoist. After participating in the murder of the great sage, the Hundred-Eyed Taoist was sent back to Temple of the Yellow Flowers. However, although Pilan Bodhisattva let him go, he fell into the hands of Kunlun. Kunlun Langyuan is the territory of the Queen Mother of the West. This lady bestowed golden cocoons from Celestial Inn, obtained the Rooster of the Sun from Buddha Maitreya's hands in New West, ordering the Hundred-Eyed Taoist to plant the golden cocoon into the Rooster of the Sun's body for human experimentation, eventually turning the Rooster of the Sun to the Dusk Veil. This is one side. On the other side, the Queen Mother of the West bestowed 2 golden cocoons in total. One was planted into the Rooster of the Sun's body, and the other fell into the mountains of Purple Cloud Mountain, developing into a strange insect. The eggs of this creature, when eaten by living people, would turn them into insect yaguai, but it had the miraculous effect of greatly increasing one's power. So the mountain priests eagerly sought after it, eating the eggs and turning into yaguai one after another, and they called this crazy behavior evolution and ascension. What they didn't know was that yaguai were exactly the material the celestial court needed. The venerable Lord Lao and the Queen Mother of the West set up a great array in Webbed Hollow on Purple Cloud Mountain, turning this place into a prison for yaguai, and regularly collecting a batch of yaguai to the upper realm to refine into immortal pills and golden pills. The cave that the priests saw as an immortal's den was actually just a material breeding farm. Before the Destined One arrived, the Queen Mother of the West had already made all the calculations. The Hundred-Eyed Taoist gifted the Great Sage's relic perk and the embroidery needle to Violet Spider, helping her set up a trap to hunt Zhubaji, planning to first eliminate Baji, cutting off the Destined One's right-hand man, and then hunt down the Destined One. Unfortunately, there was a small mishap here. Violet Spider's love for Baji was too deep, and she couldn't bring herself to do it. The Hundred-Eyed Taoist had to personally take the stage, but in the end he died at the hands of the Destined One. Here the conflict between Buddhism and Taoism is further expanded. The Hundred-Eyed Taoist mentions in the journal portraits about his plan to hunt down the Destined One, including this line, "The Queen said that the other side had taken advantage before. This time it's just right to get it all back with interest." This sentence naturally refers to the Buddhist realm. 5. Flame Mountain. The 5th stop on the Destined One's journey is Flame Mountain. Years ago on the journey to the west, Monkey first fought with Red Boy, then invited Guan Yin from the Southern Sea to take Red Boy away to be a good wealth boy. Then they encountered Bull Demon King, and Monkey summoned all the gods in Celestial to forcibly subdue him. The old bull was then taken to the Buddhist realm reciting sutras to become a member of the system. As before, Black Myth adds many causes and effects to the story of the Bull Demon King's family. Many years ago, when the Buddhist realm exterminated the entire Yaksha race, the venerable Lord Lao saved the son of the Yaksha king at the last moment. However, as no Yaksha could be left alive, Lord Lao could only collect the essence of the Yaksha prince. He then had his disciple, who was also the Bull Demon King's wife, Princess Iron Fan, drink the water from the Child Mother River and use her womb to give birth to a child, preserving the Yaksha bloodline. This child was Red Boy. This is the origin of the whole affair. After the journey to the west, Bull Demon King harmed the great sage and also received a relic perk in exchange for the freedom to return to Flame Mountain. However, the great sage was, after all, Bull Demon King's sworn brother, and being forced to kill the great sage became a hurdle that the old bull couldn't get over. Bull Demon King became depressed, losing almost all of his former demonic vigor. Later, Red Boy learned about his origins and demanded the great sage's relic perk from Bull Demon King, wanting to transform into another great sage to take revenge on the Buddhist realm. But Bull Demon King, fearing the power of the Buddhist realm and worried about his son getting into danger, adamantly refused to give it. So Red Boy first raised the flag of rebellion against the old bull. Bull Demon King, fearing to hurt his son, was imprisoned by Red Boy because of this, but Red Boy still couldn't get the Great Sage's relic perk. On the other side, Princess Ironfan went to ask the venerable Lord Lao for help, but Lord Lao coldly replied, "I asked you to give birth to a child, not to raise it as a son. You two shouldn't interfere, and naturally the disaster will be resolved." If the story of Lingji and Yellow Wind showed what kind of image the Buddhist realm had, the dialogue between Princess Ironfan and Lord Lao answers what kind of image the Celestial Court had: cold-blooded and unfeeling, supremely indifferent. The story of Flame Mountain ends with the Destined One defeating Red Boy. Princess Ironfan knelt and begged for Red Boy's life to be spared, but Red Boy couldn't bear to beg his enemies again and angrily committed suicide. Note that here, Red Boy saw the Destined One as a spokesperson for the Buddhist realm and the Celestial Court. As the story enters its final stage, the scriptwriters finally reveal to us what the Destined One has been doing all along, on the surface collecting relic perks to resurrect the Great Sage, but in reality still carrying out the will of the Buddhist realm and the Celestial Court. The bigger picture. 6. The Celestial Court and the Buddhist realm. In the final chapter, the Destined One returns to Mount Huaguo, only to encounter celestial soldiers coming to suppress him. This makes us wonder, isn't the Destined One carrying out Celestial's orders? Why would the Celestial Court try to stop him at the last moment? This requires us to peel back the first layer of the story and see what happened behind the scenes. In the 4 sections of Yellow Wind Ridge, New West, Webbed Hollow, and Flame Mountain, the conflict between Buddhism and Taoism is a constant theme. The Celestial Court helped Yellow Wind cut off Lingji's head, allowed New West to capture the Rooster of the Sun, and conducted human experiments on the Rooster of the Sun on Purple Cloud Mountain. Note that this Rooster of the Sun is the son of Pilan Bodhisattva. Strictly speaking, he should be considered as the Buddhist realm's tentacle extended into the Celestial Court. On Flame Mountain, Lord Lao remained indifferent to Red Boy, who wanted to seek revenge on the Buddhist realm, watching from the sidelines. The discord between Buddhism and Taoism has almost been brought to the surface. Behind this discord are the different political demands of the two religions. For the Celestial Court, their character is supremely indifferent, with order as the priority. In the old monkey story, the great sage Sun Wukong gave a reason for the Celestial Court's suppression. "I resigned my position and returned home to live freely. The old folks in Celestial were uneasy about me." In Bull Demon King's memories, Sun Wukong also gave a similar explanation. Only by acknowledging a master and cultivating to become a true immortal, this path is left for us to walk. The Celestial Court couldn't stand having Yao Guai living freely in the lower realm. You must either join the system or die. You have to choose one. This is the Celestial Court's view of Yao Guai. For the Buddhist realm, their character is that you must convert. The story of Yellow Wind Ridge is an example. In the Golden Kingdom, if you believe in Buddha, all is well. If you dare not believe, the Buddhist realm immediately sends insects to harm you. On the other hand, from the whole story, we can see that Black Bear, Yellow Wind, the Hundred-Eyed Taoist, Red Boy, Bull Demon King, all are Yao Guais who were taken to believe in Buddha during the journey to the West. In the eyes of the Buddhist realm, the number of believers is the top priority. The Celestial Court values order. The Buddhist realm values believers. Through the above analysis, we can roughly understand the interest dispute behind the Destined One's farce. During the journey to the West, the Buddhist realm took the opportunity to gather many believers, including Sun Wukong, and the Celestial Court felt that the Buddhist realm had gained a big advantage, feeling displeased. After the Great Sage's second rebellion against Celestial, the Celestial Court came up with a plan to cut down the Buddhist realm's power. The Celestial Court first asked the Buddhist realm to send people to suppress the Great Sage. After the Buddhist realm agreed, the Celestial Court took the opportunity to distribute the Great Sage's remains to the Buddhist realm's people, using this to kill with a borrowed knife. Everyone knows that the almighty Great Sage's things are a death warrant. Whoever holds them will be killed by successive Destined Ones. 7 May Mountain. After saying so much, we now know about the game between the Celestial Court and the Buddhist realm behind the Destined One's journey. But what exactly happened with the Great Sage's death? If we want to know who understands this matter best, it must be Erlang Shen. Although in the old monkey story, Erlang Shen, Yang Jian, was the direct killer of the great sage. But in the game's portraits, Yang sent out a group of people, and he personally intercepted one of the great sage's six senses, the true mind sense. It can be said that Yang Jian is actually the great sage's partner. And in Yang Jian's words, he evaluates the great sage's plan like this: opening the path between life and death, you make me so envious. On the execution platform in the past, knife cuts and thunder strikes were useless, but now he has exchanged himself for you. And the most important sentence, no one in this world can kill him except himself. From this, we can know that the great sage purely committed suicide. The great sage wanted to get rid of something by dying, and this thing is written in the final ending animation. There is such a scene in true ending animate, Yang Jian. So what if you became a Buddha? The golden hoop is still on your head. Great sage, furious. This old monkey will take it off right now for you to see. The tight fillet spell is the great sage's lifelong nightmare. This thing represents the secular control over the monkey. It can be said that it was the tight fillet spell that forced the monkey onto the Buddhist path. This thing is repeatedly mentioned in the plot, and it appears at important nodes. Deeper layer, speculate. Things above are all based in-game texts, and this deeper layer chapter may contains speculate. Delving deeper into the game's narrative, we uncover layers of complexity that go beyond the surface story. In the animation following Chapter 5, Sun Wukong, pressing the golden cudgel on Bull Demon King's shoulder, says, "Only by taking a master and cultivating to attain Buddhahood is this path left for us to walk. Don't you understand, brother?" This line hints at a deeper conflict within Wukong himself. The portrait of the great sage's remnant body provides an intriguing perspective. The immortals say that Wukong was at his most mischievous and cruel when he was the Monkey King of Mount Huago. However, at that time, apart from his conflicts with the celestial court, he rarely harmed other beings. It wasn't until he took a master and became Sun Wukong the Pilgrim that he developed more ruthless methods. Stealing, kidnapping, murder, arson, destroying mountains and caves, nothing was beneath him. This observation is thought-provoking. During his time as the great sage equal to heaven, the Monkey King, while causing trouble in the Lung King's palace and altering the Book of Life and Death, didn't commit truly heinous acts. This explains why the Celestial Court initially offered him a minor position and later even promoted him to great sage equal to heaven after his first rebellion. Encountering the hoop while seeking freedom wouldn't matter much, but encountering it during a revolution would result in countless deaths. The hoop seemingly disappeared after the journey to the west, but its potential effects in certain moments were unknown. The hoop's long absence wasn't due to Wukong's obedience to Buddhism, but because it wouldn't appear for minor transgressions, like drinking with Zhubajie, so he had to find a way to prove whether this restraint still existed. This commotion confirmed that the hoop was indeed still present, paving the way for Wukong's subsequent plan of suicide and being reborn. However, after being imprisoned for 500 years and becoming Sun Wukong the Pilgrim, his methods indeed became more brutal. The game attributes this change to taking a master, becoming a pilgrim, and having a direction. In other words, it suggests that by converting to Buddhism, idolizing a figure, and having ulterior motives, Wukong unleashed his inner ferocity, becoming the Sun Wukong who bullies Bull Demon King. This implies that Buddhist teachings may have a transformative, perhaps not entirely positive, effect on individuals. This transformation mirrors the game's portrayal of celestial beings and Buddhas as outwardly radiant but inwardly dark-hearted. As mentioned earlier, the Venerable Lord Lao is impure, running a Yaoguai breeding farm on Purple Cloud Mountain for his pill refinement. Lingji Bodhisattva is not benevolent, tyrannically oppressing the Golden Kingdom and Yellow Wind Sage. Could their ferocity also stem from their own ulterior motives? The game's currency, will, plays a crucial role in this interpretation, though its origin isn't explicitly stated in the game. Drawing from previous games by the same developers, we can speculate on its significance. Immortality comes at a cost, requiring continuous consumption of will. There are three main sources of this essence: natural occurrence, Places like the Queen Mother's Peach Garden and Genuine Daxian's 5 villages are treasure lands producing will. Consuming a single peach or ginseng fruit grants immortality due to their high will content. Faith generation. Spirit Mountain's obsession with expanding its following stems from its reliance on believers' faith. Followers provide will, sustaining the immortality of Spirit Mountain's Buddhas. This thing happens in New Thunderclap Temple, inherent in living beings. Living creatures possess will that can be collected and consumed. The Venerable Lord Lao's 9 turns golden pill grants immortality because it's refined from life itself, concentrating vast amounts of will. These 3 methods of producing will correspond to the 3 heavenly interventions in Black myth. To gain faith, Buddha bestowed a drum to the Golden Kingdom, amassing believers. When the kingdom abolished Buddhism, shaking Spirit Mountain's foundation, Lingji sent insects as punishment. Yellow Wind's unauthorized intervention in this sensitive matter naturally enraged Spirit Mountain, leading to subsequent calamities. For pill refinement, the Venerable Lord Lao set up an array on Purple Cloud Mountain, confining numerous Yaoguais to ensure a constant supply of refining materials and will. Hence the anger when the Destined One removes the talisman, as this monkey has disrupted the Celestial Court's foundation. To increase peach production, the Queen Mother bestowed golden cocoons, experimenting on the Star of Wood. The logic here is that the peach trees in the Queen Mother's Kunlun Langyuan produce will, essentially making them a crop. When the Destined One obtains the insect eggs, they're given to the Chen Lung, who is involved in farming. This strongly suggests that the Queen Mother's grand scheme was researching ways to increase peach yields for greater will production. The complete set of mortal equipment that players later discover on Mount Huago was actually hidden by Wukong with Yin Tiger earlier, who then secretly returned it to Mount Huago. According to the portrait of Yin Tiger, Wukong distrusted all equipment given by the heavens and had been pondering when he could take off this golden armor before the hoop manifested. He must have realized that this divinely intervened golden armor had some connection to monitoring restraint, or he was unwilling to wear it because he believed these equipments came from the exploitation of the lower realm by Celestial and Buddhas. What does this indicate? Wukong's plan for revolution had already been noticed, because he certainly wouldn't wear this set of golden armor when raising the flag of rebellion. What he would wear when rebelling must be his own clothes from when he wreaked havoc in heaven, because the golden armor given from above was illegitimate and harbored hidden restraints. So some people from above even started inquiring about the whereabouts of his old equipment, showing how deeply the Celestial Court or Spirit Mountain monitored him. Yin Tiger, being honest, asked him, "This golden armor is so good, why wear this broken copper and rusty iron?" Actually referring to the trustworthy old equipment. Wukong replied with a smile, "It's precisely because I don't want to wear it. I haven't rebelled yet. Of course, I can't take off the golden armor bestowed by the Jade Emperor," but immediately added, "You don't need to really repair it. I'm not really asking you to fix it, just keeping it here. If someone asks, just say you're repairing it, mainly keeping it here to give an explanation to those above." Later, Yin Tiger sent this set to a mysterious tree on Mount Huago, which players can retrieve on their own. Moreover, this equipment set will continuously increase its defense power according to the unlocking level of the Great Sage's 6 senses, indicating that this set was prepared by Wukong for regaining his 6 senses and reshaping his mind and body. Or perhaps, after Wukong's incident, Yin Tiger truly helped repair it for the Great Sage and saw through Wukong's purpose, specially adding this effect to the mortal equipment set to assist his future grand endeavor. In fact, the golden hoop and the golden armor have full symbolic meaning. You can understand these two as the leverage and related interests held by the old order over a revolutionary leader. To lead a new revolutionary force, one must make a clean break, not only giving up a comfortable life, the Jade Emperor's set has very high stats, but also making a final break with one's past self. Additionally, we shouldn't imagine revolutionary leaders as perfect individuals. They also have emotions and desires and go through a maturation process. Chapter 5 of this game uses Bull Demon King's story to showcase Wukong's journey from a hooligan to following the old order, to reflecting on the old order, and finally sacrificing himself to gain freedom and lead the revolution. Returning to the Great Sage's dilemma, While human nature may be inherently good, desires, idols, and ulterior motives naturally lead to ruthless methods and unleash inner demons. Just as the great sage transformed from the beautiful Monkey King into Sun Wukong the Pilgrim, perhaps the myriad celestial beings and Buddhas underwent a similar transformation. The wall painting deciphering section at the end of Chapter 4 provides further food for speculation, particularly the part about the crane sage. The text states, during the original journey to the west, the challenge of breaking the golden light of hundred-eyed was supposed to be aided by the Bodhisattva, without the celestial court's intervention. But that monkey doesn't follow the script. Perhaps he even went to the celestial court for help. This implies that in Black myth, the 81 tribulations in Journey to the West, their nature and solutions, were predetermined by the higher powers. Hence the statement that Temple of the Yellow Flowers challenge was meant to be solved with the Bodhisattva's help, not the celestial courts. The subsequent line about the monkey not following the script and seeking help from the celestial court subtly suggests that deep down, the monkey still resists the invisible hand guiding events and refuses to follow the predetermined script. Later in the game, Yang Jian, or Lang Shen, says you came here because of destiny, but that monkey is the one who defies destiny the most. This indicates that the great sage has been consistent in his rebellious nature from the beginning. That's why the Destined One is in a war. In this game, he is not pursuing retirement and a free life. Here, Wukong is a fighter, not a lackey obeying Spirit Mountain or the Celestial Court. According to Zhu Baji's recollection in the portrait, Wukong's last words before leaving expressed his dissatisfaction with the myriad gods and Buddhas, plundering the lower realm to maintain their own immortality. He must have seen through his time as a Buddha on Spirit Mountain the methods used by gods and Buddhas to maintain their authority and plunder cultivation resources, from the three realms, and he was very dissatisfied with this distribution method. So Wukong's descent to the lower realm was to rebel against all celestial courts and Buddhas, and the crucial first step in rebelling against celestial and Buddhas was to remove the restraint on his body. Otherwise, with insufficient battle power and lack of personal freedom, how could he rebel? Moreover, the golden hoop currently only causes headaches. Who knows if it could control his spirit or even eavesdrop on intelligence when the real battle begins? Therefore, to realize his ideal of equality between humans and gods, the first step he needed to take was to confirm the existence of the golden hoop and find a way to escape from it. The journey to the West, 500 years ago, appears more like a long play where the great sage equal to heaven, with his sharp edges and proud spirit crushed under the five-finger mountain, was forced to wear the golden hoop and reluctantly acted out a script controlled by Spirit Mountain. His actions and style during the journey were all in line with Spirit Mountain's methods. Upon reaching Spirit Mountain in the west, as the grand play concluded, the monkey thought he could remove the golden hoop. However, Spirit Mountain went back on their word, causing the monkey to become utterly disillusioned. He only wished to resign his position and return home for peace. But this desire for tranquility touched a nerve with the celestial court. Spirit Mountain couldn't bear to see him resign, and thus the great sage was ultimately doomed. After Wukong's death, according to Bull Demon King's recollection, Erlang immediately distributed the six senses to the Yaoguai kings who participated in the siege. First 5 chapters of the game's main storyline are the process of the Destined One continuously collecting Wukong's 6 senses. Before his death, Wukong deliberately instructed Bull Demon King, who had the best relationship with him and was willing to come and send him off. Don't touch what he turns into after death. Sure enough, the other 4 senses were taken by the old Yaoguai kings for their private use. Only Bull Demon King hid his in his stomach without daring to move, mainly fearing Red Boy would try to snatch it. After completing the 5 chapters, only the 5 physical senses were obtained, still missing the most crucial one, Wukong's memory, which is the mind among the 6 senses, or Wukong's divine consciousness. This sense was preserved by Erlang Shen, who was working with him. Erlang Shen preserving this sense actually had an explanation for all parties. Wukong's divine consciousness couldn't be preserved by ordinary Yaoguai, so entrusting it to Erlang Shen made sense to the leaders above, and was also reasonable for other Yaoguai kings. as it was something they couldn't handle themselves. For Wukong, who understood celestial court politics, this was an open conspiracy. Giving it to Erlang Shen reassured the Celestial and Buddhas. The Yaoguai kings had no objections, and he himself was satisfied, because Erlang Shen ultimately stood on his side. In the Destined One's subsequent plan, as the five senses were collected by the player, and the Destined One became increasingly powerful, defeating the Yaoguai kings, those above would inevitably arrange for Erlang Shen, the pinnacle of battle power, to deal with the Destined One. Then taking this opportunity to return the sixth sense to the Destined One would be natural and flawless. The most crucial part of this open conspiracy was that the process of returning the sixth sense couldn't be discovered. They couldn't just hand over the six senses to the Destined One in front of the celestial army, could they? This required someone of high rank and authority who secretly supported him and Wukong to help operate. So when he was troubled, he found Maitreya. Maitreya's image in the game is also very positive, but he has clearly lost many things, causing his physical body to become childlike, indicating that this future Buddha's plans for the future world conflicted with the established path of the current rulers of Spirit Mountain. But fortunately, he had powerful magic and high status, so he created a world within a painting, arranged a scene in the melon field, helping Erlang Shen secure the transaction location on one hand, and hinting to the Destined One to find the entrance in the Pagoda Realm on the other, finally allowing Wukong's Destined One plan to ultimately succeed. Conclusion. In the old monkey story, the great sage was limited by the suddenly activated tight fillet spell, which is why he was pierced through the chest by Yang Jian's spear. In the ordinary bad ending, after the great sage's death, the golden hoop falls to the ground, and the old monkey picks up the golden hoop and puts it back on the Destined One's head. In the hidden true ending, the Destined One doesn't put on the golden hoop, so it's very obvious what the great sage wanted to get rid of by dying. The great sage wanted to get rid of the fate represented by the golden hoop. However, his plan was again utilized by the Celestial Court and the Buddhist Realm, imbued with a new fate, which is a story for another time. Besides the great sage and Yang Jian, Buddha Maitreya should also be a participant in this plan. In Erlang Shen's journal portraits, it's mentioned that it was Maitreya who drew the May Mountain map for Yang Jian to hide and avoid the Celestial Court's investigation. Some of Maitreya's statements, such as, "I'm more worried about your elder brother, Yang Jian. He has guarded that thing," the great sage's mind sense, "for so long, I hope he doesn't fail at the last moment." These statements from Maitreya show that he was fully aware of the great sage's plan and provided a lot of help. You see, this is how the black in Black Myth comes about. The great sage wasn't seeking retirement for selfish reasons, and Erlang wasn't exterminating the sage on orders. One had a utopian dream of equality between humans and gods. The other provided divine assistance within the framework. The Celestial Court wasn't easy to deal with either, from their collection of the great sage's mortal equipment set, to collaborating with Spirit Mountain to monitor Erlang Shen, to the Jade Emperor inserting his right hand into Supreme Inspector's head. Even if the Destined One hadn't discovered Maitreya's hint in Chapter 2 and hadn't unlocked the hidden obsession levels in the 4 chapters, the great sage wouldn't have had the chance to be resurrected and would only have welcomed a substitute who would wear the golden hoop again. And from Maitreya's shrinking form and the loss of his human seed bag and golden symbols, we can see that the struggle in the upper realm is also very intense. For example, Spirit Mountain exterminated the Yaksha race, but the venerable Lord Lao secretly protected the last bloodline of the Yaksha king, arranging for Iron Fan Princess to give birth to Red Boy, who is a witness to Spirit Mountain's sins. This shows that although both Buddhism and Taoism are exploitative, they both have their own plans and haven't even united to confront the great sage or the Destined One. If you enjoyed this video about the full story of Black Myth Wukong, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Timeless Tales for more stories in the future.